I know that yesterday was a tough day for every single person out there that rocks with the silver and black, but here's the thing. This isn't something that we're just doing from time to time. This is your fully in, fully dedicated 365. If you love the Raiders, hit that subscribe button. We're still going to be here providing videos every single day for those diehard fans out there. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, we got some good news and we have some bad news. Jeremy Chugs and I literally just got off our flight from North Carolina. Again, shout out to the North Carolina Raider fans that brought us there. And this makes me think of every conversation I have with my fiance, Alex. And I go, I got some good news and I got some bad news. What do you want first? She's always like, hey, give me the good news first. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here on today's show. The first is the good news, and this is rolling in from Tom Telesco. It says, the NFL is not expected to suspend any of the players involved in Sunday's fight near the end of the Chargers and Raiders game, and that means Jack Jones and Joshua Palmer, if you reminder, like they were ejected. I was a little bit worried that Jack could potentially be suspended just because of the way that the NFL works. Now, I think that there's going to be some fines that end up happening, but here's one thing that I got to say. When you go back and you watch the fight, okay? It's two division rival teams, a lot of emotion, a lot of frustration. But, I'll say this. I'm going to stand up for Jack Jones because he stood up for Marcus Epps. And you go back about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago at this point, and some players were standing up for Ja'Cory and Bennett. Nate Hobbs was standing up for Ja'Cory and Bennett. What I've seen from this football team is this is a brotherhood. Last year with Josh McDaniels, let's face it, they didn't have that brotherhood because they felt that they were being led by somebody that was a little bit of a clown show. Now you got somebody in Antonio Pearson. You can say what you want about AP. This team plays for Antonio Pierce. They play for each other. So, Jack, I know that you got ejected. I don't think that he should have got ejected, but quite frankly, that's the type of mentality I want for my football team. You go out there and you stand up for your guys, and he stood up for Marcus Epps. If you support Jack Jones standing up for Marcus Epps, if you support those guys going out there and standing up for each other, I want you to hit that like button right now. Obviously, it doesn't help the team when one of your best corners ends up getting ejected. But, when you watch that game from top to bottom, and I don't blame the defense for being frustrated. Every single Raider fan right now is frustrated because it looks like, yet again, we might have a really hard offense to watch, but this defense is legit. I'm standing up for Jack Jones, and I'm standing up for all those guys that had Marcus Epps' back, man. More good news here coming in from the Raiders Report. Antonio Pierce spoke to the media today, and we're going to talk about AP here in a little bit. And he said that Tom Telesco is looking to target some extra edge help, maybe in free agency. He didn't technically say free agency. He said that they're going out there to add extra depth at the defensive end position. So that could be free agency. That could be maybe via a trade. And actually tomorrow on the Raiders Report, for those of you need to subscribe, we're going to pump out some candidates that maybe the Raiders could potentially target. Because you got Malcolm Kuntz. He's out until week 5. Then you got, some more bad news, which we're going to talk about. Tyree Wilson, because he's banged up a little bit. But right now, as it stands, this is your defensive end group, right? You know what we got in Max Crosby. Malcolm's placed on that short-term IR. He's out till week 5. Janarius Robinson, I thought he did okay yesterday. Tyree Wilson, obviously left with that injury. We'll talk about that in a moment. Charles Snowden was somebody that ended up getting promoted. But, let's be honest with ourselves. And it was a tough matchup for the defensive ends. Joe Alt, you watched that tape. There was a reason why I thought he was the best tackle in the draft. And he showed it. He played really solid football. Max was the only edge that ended up getting a sack. But then also Rashawn Slater, one of the best in the biz. We do need more talent at edge, but we also need more depth. So I was really, really happy to see that. That's what AP said, that Telesco's out there doing it, but we've been waiting for them to make a move for a while, so when I heard that they were going to do it, yeah, damn it, I was like, that's some good news. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into the bad news portion, which I don't want to overblow it, but there are some things that, let's be honest, we really need to be able to go out there and talk about. I do got to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, Game Time. How many people are going out to Baltimore? For me personally, when I fly home to go visit my family, since I live in the middle of absolute nowhere, I always fly into Baltimore, drive 3.5 hours to go home. That's what happens when you live in Amish country. But if anybody's planning to go out to the Raiders game, and I need you all to get started with Game Time because I love going to watch football games and going out to Baltimore, I think that you guys could have a lot of fun. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ChatSports at CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Chugs? It's game time. I love the curated deals. It makes it easier to find the best price on those seats. The seat views before you buy. the super deals, and now they got the game time picks, which you can kind of see when this screenshot right here, I clicked on that upper tab up there at the game time picks, and that's going to tell you like what they think is the best values out there for this football game. And you go through, you look at some of those prices to what it takes to get into a Baltimore Ravens game. I'll tell you what, I wish those prices were that cheap in Las Vegas. That one is 100% for certain. But there's also a lot of other things that you can do in Baltimore. And if you're out there for the Raiders game and you don't want to overplan because, a lot of stuff ends up popping up. But you can also do something maybe on a Friday, maybe on a Saturday. And all those deals are going to be available to you guys at game time. So again, you get that great ticket prices, the last minute tickets, the flash deals, but now they have the super deals, they have amazing deals, they have great deals. And if you're somebody like me where I like to wait till the last moment when I buy something like this, but also on top of that, I'm a window shopper. If I go shopping online, and what do? I look for the very first things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at sales. If I go shopping with Alex, I'm going to go look at what's on sale rack, and then I'll look at paying the normal price. Game time, they've hooked up Chugs and I a bunch, and I want y'all to know that you can trust Game Time. Those links are down in the comments. They're down in the description of today's show. Shout out to them for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's now get into some of the bad news here. We don't have an update from Antonio Pierce on Tyree Wilson. He left the game against the Chargers with a knee injury, and it's bad news to me because, one, we don't know if he's going to be healthy. Two, we were really hoping that with the absence of Malcolm Koonce, like this was finally going to be the opportunity where Malcolm's going to look himself, or Tyree's going to look himself in the mirror and he goes, all right, here's my time to shine. Like, there was no better opportunity for Tyree Wilson to step up than it is right now with Malcolm Koonce out. And the fact that there is no update and the fact that we don't have anything, it does concern me because, again, you got to read the tea leaves of no update on Tyree Wilson and then Tom Telesco saying we're going to go out there and add extra edge help. Now, that could be him saying no matter what we were going to add extra edge help, which is something that they definitely need to do, and it's why I'm going to make the video that I'm going to make tomorrow, but not getting an update on Tyree Wilson, and it's another injury because I said it yesterday when we were in North Carolina. I had a bunch of Raider fans saying it to me. Hell, I even looked at Chugs and I go, honestly, he looked better yesterday. He did. Before the injury happened, he looked like he was a little bit quicker. He looked like he was starting to figure it out, and that's a little bit of the frustrating part of why I think that, not getting an update on Tyree Wilson is some bad news. Other bad news is what Antonio Pierce said today at his press conference, and it was regarding him punting on 4th and 1. This is what he said. I get the analytics, but the ball is at the 8-yard line. Our defense had only given up 200 yards. That's the strength of our team. So my question out here to you is, did Antonio Pierce do the right thing by punting on 4th and 1? Give me a yes down in the comments, or I want you to give me a no down in the comments, because this is a very talked about debate right now on social media. My answer is going to be coming up after this YouTube ad break. No, Antonio Pierce did not make the right decision. And when I made this video today, I go, all right, the good news is what I've already discussed. The bad news, and the real reason why I think that it's bad news that Antonio Pierce, which stood up there, he said that he felt like he made the right decision. That scares the absolute flipping hell out of me because you can't afford to have a head coach in the NFL. You can't afford to have a leader. You can't afford to have somebody that doubles down on a decision that I think everybody that's breathing air knows that it was the wrong decision. And I'm not saying this because I don't even think that you should compare anybody to Josh McDaniels. I have way, way more respect for Antonio Pierce than I ever did for that clown, and I'm not making that comparison. But it reminded me of McDaniels, where everyone knew that McDaniels made the wrong decision, but he stood on his ground and saying it. Now, I understand it because I saw this tweet from Josh Dubois, who, Josh is somebody who's just always going to try to undercut the Raiders any way possible. But punt on 4th and 1 from the Chargers 43, down 6 in the fourth quarter. It's the first 4th and 1 punt in plus territory when down a score in the fourth quarter since Rex Ryan's Bills did it versus the Ravens in 2016. Like, that's not a stat that you want to be a part of. Now, I quote tweeted this and I said, I get, like, you can make fun of the decision. And I was on the show saying, the Bills lost that game. But, like, I said it on the show. I understand Antonio Pierce wanting to trust his defense. But it also screamed to me that he clearly doesn't trust his offense, which, again, I'm not going to sit up here and say that I blame him. But you cannot come up here the following day and go, I made the right decision. Because, quite frankly, You saw a lot of reactions from a lot of the Raiders players when it happened. Everybody around the league's been talking about it. I'm going to sit up here and talk about it as well. If it's 4th down and 1, I don't care how good your defense is played in that type of situation, you flipping have to go for it. And to say that you made the right choice today, that scares the hell out of me. And for that, that's some bad news there. Also, Paul Gutierrez said this: ESPN analytics strongly disagreed with Antonio Pierce's decision to punt on 4th down and 1 in the Chargers territory. Okay, WP go, so 24.8%. Then he says 5.7%. Winning punt, 19.1%. The Raiders are the first team to punt in, again, opposing territory when trailing by 1. The bottom line is, if you make a bad decision, that's okay. In life, you make bad decisions. I've had bad takes. I've had certain things that didn't go the right way. Everybody watching the show right now has made a bad decision. But I think as a grown man, it's your responsibility. As a leader of a team, it's your responsibility. As a head coach in the National Football League, it's your responsibility to be able to look in that camera and say, I made the wrong call. Now, if you're still going to sit there and say that you made the right call, I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed in you, Antonio Pierce. So not admitting you were wrong and then doubling down, it did scare the absolute heck out of me. Before I get out of here today, I did want to just bring up one more thing because it literally just came across our desk here. Aaron Wilson said former Colts corner Micah Abraham is going to work out for the Raiders on Tuesday, so he's going to work out for the Silver and Black on Tuesday. And then he's also had some previous workouts with the Texans and Broncos, so potentially you could see the Raiders maybe adding somebody to that practice squad, maybe adding somebody to their 53-man roster. Just be on the lookout. It's just another reason to hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. If the Raiders do end up making a move at all tomorrow, I'll definitely make a short on it. I'll put it out there on social. But I know what yesterday was, and I made today's show where it's like, yeah, there's some good news, there's some bad news. Here's some other good news. The Raiders played just about as bad as what you could have played, and they were competing with a division rival that has a head coach like Jim Harbaugh on the road. I know, basically home. But you can't expect the Raiders to win a game turning over the ball 3 times and missing a field goal, and yet we were still able to keep it close. There's going to be some hurdles. There's going to be some shit that goes down, but it's a long season ahead, and I don't want to sit up here and say, hey, we're going to be the number 1 overall pick, or hey, it's already time to tank. That shit ain't happening. Why? Because Antonio Pierce can't afford to do it. Tom Telesco can't afford to do it. But Luke Getsy, your ass is on the hot seat, and I'm coming for you this week.